So I'm just going to share a presentation today on a historical figure that we're paying tribute to with some mental takeaways. And the tribute today takes us back to the 1700s, and there wasn't a cool, sometimes I like to show videos, sometimes I like to find some stuff on YouTube, but there wasn't like a cool video on this person, more or less because he lived in the 1700s and his career arc was well before. A lot of what we have from him are his writings and some old biographies. But the awesome life and a lot to take away from him. So I'm going to share my screen. We got some pictures I'll share with you as we go, and then we'll run through this thing. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Very awesome. So this is Horatio Nelson. The message for today is engage the enemy more closely. He was born in 1758 in England. So little things about his life. At 9 years old, his mom passed away. He had 7 siblings. So his dad was in charge of him and his 8 kids, which obviously was a difficult situation to be in. And so at 12, he entered the Navy. How many of you guys are about 12 years old? Raise your hand, give or take years. Imagine going into the armed services right now and joining the Navy. Who thinks they could do that right now? Crazy, right? At 12 years old. So at the time, they gave him a little ship or a little boat to be in charge of. So he was in charge of a little boat at 12 years old, ferrying people to and from the other ships and to and from the shore. So he had to be decisive, and he was learning kind of along the way what it meant to be a good sailor. And his dream, how many of you guys want like Steph Curry and LeBron James and Tom Brady and those big sports figures? Whoever they are, Lionel Messi. Yeah, so at the time, the big figures were the Navy for England. And so he wanted to arise and become an admiral of a ship. So he was constantly gathering information. And through his teenage years, he traveled to the Caribbean, the Arctic, and Asia. So this is by the time he was 13, 14, 15, 16. He'd already been around the world. He'd explored the polar ice caps in Antarctica, and he was gaining experience and competency. So his life goal was to be in the Navy, his ambition, his lifelong pursuit, and we've talked about this before with other people, but his passion and purpose intersected right there at the Navy. He loved what he was doing, and that's what I love for you guys to figure out as we explore, finding that passion and finding that purpose. And when you do that, nothing can stop you. However, when he was growing up in the Navy, there was a young man in France that was growing up as well, and his name was Napoleon Bonaparte. So Admiral Nelson wanted to take over the Navy and fight for his country. Napoleon Bonaparte wanted to conquer the world, and these two are going to meet head on here in just a minute. And so he works his way through the Navy. Take to this next slide. He works his way through the Navy, and the French Revolution breaks out. And the French Revolution is an opportunity for England to bring all of their ships out into the ocean and fight the French and find the French fleet as the French are trying to take over the world. At the beginning of the war, there's a battle of Cape Vincent, and this is where Horatio is able to kind of cement his position within the Navy. There were 2 columns of Spanish ships. Their fleet had separated. There was like 10 ships and 10 ships. And the English fleet decided to sail right between them before engaging them in combat. Well, when they sailed through them, they sailed past a little bit too far, and the Spanish fleet started to come together. Well, Horatio saw this, and he was in a smaller ship. He turned his ship around. His single ship went between the fleet, which is about 20 Spanish ships, went between them and started engaging the enemy, and gave the English fleet time to come back and take over the Spanish fleet. Had he not done that, the Spanish could have met up and then fought the English. But that single act of he could see it, but then he acted was huge. Not only did he engage the enemy, he captured 2 ships. So as the Spanish fleet came together, their boats came together, they came entangled. Horatio grabbed his sword, gets off his ship, and boards, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean. Who's seen Pirates of the Caribbean? Yeah, he grabs his sword, takes off, and goes onto the next ship and starts fighting the guys on that ship. And then another Spanish ship comes in, and he boards that ship. And so he captures 2 ships by hand-to-hand combat, which is just incredible and just shows you his mentality that he's preparing for action and then he's willing to act. So what we've learned so far is his passion and purpose, and then he's always prepared to take action, and then when he sees the moment, he acts. He prepares for action, and then he acts. But his life wasn't without setbacks, guys. In some of these battles, they blew up this big ship, and he took some shrapnel to his right eye, and he lost the vision of his right eye in one of these battles. So he could only see light and dark out of this right side, which was tough for an admiral, right? You got to be able to see the whole ocean. His skills overcame the loss of vision, but it was still a setback that hit him. And then this biggest setback in another skirmish with another ship, he got hit in the arm. And this is what he says. He knows he's probably going to have to lose the arm. This is what he says in the moment. Tell the surgeon to make haste. The sooner it is off, the better. So he understood, hey, just take my arm. I know you got to take it. But can you imagine having that mindset? Hey, just chop my arm off. I'll be good to go. And that's what he did. They chopped his arm off. And that night, he taught himself how to write with his left hand. And he wrote a letter back to England with his left hand, explaining what happened. But it was the self-doubt started to creep in. And he wrote a letter to back home and said, make room for a better man to serve the state. How many of you guys have had self-doubt? How many of you guys have had setbacks? Self-doubt and absolutely, we all have them. Even the great Horatio Nelson, they made him a lord. Lord Horatio Nelson had big setbacks and self-doubt. But he comes back and he fights the French Navy at the Battle of Trafalgar. This is his shining moment. The French fleet versus the English fleet. Lord Nelson has risen. He's the admiral of the entire fleet. And this is the culmination of his career, the Battle of Trafalgar. There's 33 English ships and 41 Spanish ships. And he flew 2 flags that day, battle flags 1 and 6. And it told his fleet, engage the enemy more closely. All it meant was continue attacking. And if you're attacking, attack even closer. Keep getting closer to the enemy. And in the end, they decimated the French fleet. They sank the fleet. Napoleon was stranded. He didn't have the ability to get reserves on land, and it ended up helping turn the war between the world and Napoleon Bonaparte. He ended up dying, getting shot. That's him without his right arm right there in that painting. But he ends up getting shot in the Battle of Trafalgar, and he dies. His crew, he was loved. He was an incredible leader. His crew basically all wept and cried at the loss of their leader. He went down in history as one of the greatest heroes in English history. They had a huge parade, a harbor parade for him in his honor. In Trafalgar Square in England, they have this large statue in the middle of the square for him, even without his right arm. And he just went down in history for England as a great hero. I want to talk about these 2 flags though, battle flags 1 and 6, engage the enemy more closely. So we can take that into our lives today. That enemy sometimes is ourselves, engage ourselves more closely, engage ourselves more closely. You got to face your fears. You got to face the enemy. You got to engage and attack yourself. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy. We're filled with self-doubt, just like we know. But that fear is talking to you guys on the inside. That fear, if you lean into it, is going to help teach you, hey man, I can do that. I'm a little scared to do it, but I know I need to do that. And so that self-doubt's going to creep in. That fear of failure is going to creep in. That you might mess up. You might be embarrassed a little bit, but it's how we learn. You keep trying, you learn something, okay, you do it again. You try it, you do it again, you try it, you do it again, until you have, and you'll never master it, but you try to master it. And so my theme for us for this semester is engage the enemy more closely. Go out on the attack, go down on the offensive, put yourself out there, try, and don't worry about messing up, don't worry about failing. And I thought this tribute to Horatio Nelson was really cool. I hope you guys enjoyed it. A lot of good takeaways from it. You guys go have a great day at 7:20, and we will be on tomorrow to start moving. Okay, we'll do some little breath work, then we'll move, get some mobility in, and a little workout. So go engage that enemy more closely, guys. Go out on the attack. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you.
Bye,
Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
See you.
Bye. Thanks.
Hey, see you, Boston. Hey, see you, Porter.
Bye.
How was
Are
that?
we? I just need to see if
Hey, Kent.
Hey, it worked. Okay, sorry. I got the message a little late about
No,
all
you're
the
good.
things. Hi. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, you're good to go. We'll all figure it out, but have a great day, Porter.
You too. See you, Brighton.
Bye, guys.
Bye. You can hit leave. There you go. Perfect.